Oops, I did it again. Let's get wretched. What's up, nerds? It's your boy, the OGGM, coming to you live at 9:08 in the morning on this, the 9th day of November 2023. It is about 71 degrees and clear. The latest episode issue of Wretched Minions has come out from our friends over at the Red Room, and once again, it is written by yours truly. And this time around, we did cryptids, urban legends, Elvis, aliens, Bigfoot. There's a lot of Bigfoots. So what is a cryptid? If you don't know what a cryptid is, probably the most famous cryptids, of course, being Bigfoot, the Loch Ness Monster, the Area 51 aliens, and Elvis sightings, right? So we wanted to do cryptids next. We wanted to explore the urban myths of the real world. And, just kind of that whole idea that there are things in the real world that still aren't explained. Bigfoot sightings being one. Or they're just a hoax. Okay, so there are two definitions for cryptids. One is that they're creatures that are not formally recognized by modern science. Probably the most well-known description of cryptid. Another definition of cryptid can be creatures we thought were extinct, but actually turned out to be existence, or creatures we didn't know were real until we found out that they were actually real. Okay, so, and this comes to us from the world's most well-known cryptozoologist, Lauren Coleman, who says the study is devoted to the discovery of creatures that are not formally recognized by modern science. Bigfoot. But the other definition is of what a cryptid is discovering a creature you either thought was extinct or thought was made up. So in regards to rediscovering a creature you thought was extinct, they recently, the Kuapi, I believe it's called. It's some relative to the anteater. It's a mammal. It's got a anteater-like trunk. It was recently rediscovered in the jungles of South America. It was thought to be extinct, but there were sightings of it. And it's like, oh, no, this thing's been dead for like 100 years. Turns out, nope, it's still out there. Another one would have been the duck-billed platypus. People heard about the duck-billed platypus, but they thought it was a joke until it was proven beyond a shadow of a doubt. Yes, there actually is a mammal that lives underwater that has a duck bill that is venomous and lays eggs, but is still a mammal. So it's duck-billed platypus. So then we go into the whole thing about the encounters with cryptids, the most famous cryptids. And then we got to talk about Bigfoot. Obviously, we got to talk about Bigfoot because Bigfoot is everywhere. You think, well, I live so-and-so and it's Bigfoot country. No, every place is Bigfoot. Literally, every country in the world has a Sasquatch. Pretty much, if you live in some place that has a forest larger than a block, a Sasquatch has been spotted. Every state in the United States has a Bigfoot or something that could be defined as a, 2 arms, 2 legs, ape walking upright. The California, Washington state, Portland state, Bigfoot being some of the most famous, the Colorado being the most famous. So I had to do a lot of research on Bigfoot and lake monsters. And lake monsters are another one. When you think lake monsters, you think Champy and you think Loch Ness. But actually, there are several lake monsters across the world. So how do I explain that in Wretched? Obviously, there is a secret other race that maybe exists in the beyond or whatever that are Bigfoots. They have evolved parallel to us. They really don't want to have anything to do with us other than Skunk Ape, who's freaking awesome, But if we encounter them, they'll either be maybe hostile or they might just run away. Now, every country, every state, every city has a cryptid, has an urban myth. Here where I live in Ventura, California, we have the Char Man, who I have never seen. The Char Man is a Ojai cryptid that has been spotted for the past 50 years up and around Ojai, if not longer. It is supposedly the spirit of somebody who died in a fire and now angrily haunts the nights of Ojai. The second one is the Ojai vampire and the Ojai headless horseman, or the Ventura headless horseman. And we have a new one. We actually have a new cryptid that has been supposedly appearing since the 2018 fires. I didn't find a lot of information on this one, but apparently there are reported sightings of what appears to be barefoot children wearing night clothes. The girls are wearing nightgowns, and the boys are wearing like, pajamas, wearing cheap Halloween masks. There are multiple people that have claimed since the fire to have seen these. And they are somehow tied to the Ojai vampire, but this is relatively new cryptid, so I couldn't find a lot of information on it. But apparently there have been sightings of these children who are wearing all white sleeping gear. Again, the girls in all white nightgowns, the boys in white shirts and white pajama pants, wearing like really cheap 99-cent store Halloween masks. Or it could just be a big fake that somebody's family is doing to freak people out. But Charman's my local cryptid, so we got to give him some love. And then, of course, we go through every state and every state's cryptid, which I had to look up each and every state's cryptid and whether they were, and every state has a Bigfoot. Wherever you live right now, within the sound of my voice, if you're in California, if you're in Alabama, if you're in New York, if you're in Portugal, if you're in London, if you're in Greenland, if you're in the space station, if you're on the moon, you have a Bigfoot. You have a Bigfoot. Look into it. Bigfoot has been seen in your state, in your city, at least once. So I also had to find states that had things besides Bigfoot and if they were interesting enough. So every state, starting with California, Alabama, Alaska, Arizona. Arizona has the invisible dinosaurs. Arkansas, Colorado has the Connecticut, Delaware. Florida has the Skunk Ape. Skunk Ape is my favorite Bigfoot because Skunk Ape is the mascot for the Gatorland amusement park in Florida. And Skunk Ape is this big, goofy Bigfoot that wears Gatorland t-shirts and interacts with the kids. And I'm like, yeah, man, that's what I want my cryptid to be like, And we've got the Georgia Bigfoot. The Georgia Bigfoot is known as the site where most of the Bigfoot foot casts come from. And the most famous foot casts of Bigfoot comes from Georgia. For when you look in the Georgia book Bigfoot, that's the most well-known for the most sightings of feet prints. We got Hawaii, we got Idaho. Idaho's cryptid is pretty creepy. It's undead babies. We've got Illinois, Indiana, Iowa. Ever wonder where the black angels / weeping angels from Doctor Who came from? And the idea of these angel statues that stalk you? That comes from the lovely state of Iowa, where they have a urban legend cryptid called the Black Angels, which are basically statues of angels that come alive at night and hunt down people who are transgressing on the property of graveyards. If these do not give you nightmare fuel, we've got Kansas, Louisiana has a werewolf. Maine has ghost lighthouse keepers called the Lady in Red and White. So there are reports of this ghostly woman appearing on Maine coast and the islands off of the coast of Maine who glows to help ships find their way home. So not all cryptids are out to hurt you. Some of the cryptids are helpful. We got Massachusetts, Michigan, also Bigfoot. Minnesota has phantom kangaroos, ghost kangaroos. Did you know if you live in the state of Minnesota, there have been sightings of ghost kangaroos dating as far back as 1957. Now, probably what these are kangaroos that were brought over to America in the early 50s for part of a zoo or whatever and escaped. A lot of cryptid sightings are, as I say, are of animals that aren't supposed to be there or animals people thought were dead. So, big cats in states that shouldn't have big cats. Donkeys in states that shouldn't have donkeys. So the phantom kangaroos are probably kangaroos that were brought over into Minnesota for a zoo or something and escaped. Mississippi, strangely enough, other than a Bigfoot, Mississippi doesn't really have a lot of cryptids. They have a lake monster in the Mississippi River. They have a Bigfoot. So instead, I talked about the infamous Robert Johnson's deal with the devil, because that is a urban myth that is very popular in Mississippi. And of course, they have a Bigfoot. If I don't mention your state and give it too much credit, it's because you've got a Bigfoot. Nebraska has the black dog. If you've ever heard the myth of the black dog, a lot of truckers and a lot of people on cross-country journeys, especially at night, talk about seeing a black dog before accidents. That comes to us from the state of Nebraska with the urban myth cryptid of the fence rail dog. Nevada, of course, has got Area 51. You cannot talk about cryptids, urban myths without Area 51. Did you know the U.S. government refused to acknowledge the existence of Area 51 until 2013? Officially acknowledged Area 51 in 2013. Up until 2013, the U.S. would not admit that Area 51 was there. You can drive up to Area 51. You can see it. You can take pictures of it. I mean, you can't go in it. And there's certain places you're not allowed to cross without risk of being shot. But there are places where you can technically go up this one freeway to this one road to drive as close as you legally can to Area 51. And on good days, you can see the fence. And on really good days, you can see the planes that they're testing. So Area 51 is real. I've seen it. It's out in Nevada. It's a big, middle of nowhere government testing site / airport / who knows. And yeah, the government until 2013 would not admit that it was there. Even if you could take a picture of a soldier in front of the Area 51 gate, they could not, they would neither confirm nor deny that Area 51 is real. So how's that for stuff? And then I had to add my own cryptid for Fresno, Nevada, because, Fresno, Nevada is such a focal point to my modern take games. New Hampshire, New Jersey, you've got the Jersey Devil. New Mexico, of course, we've got the Roswell incident, which, happened in July of 1947. And you've got the Roswell aliens and Chupacabra. New York, you've got your sewer gators, right? The myths of the sewer gators. The myths of the sewer gators is been documented. Since 1927, there have been 15 documented encounters, most of it recorded, of alligators in the sewer. So the general belief is somebody brings a baby alligator home from Florida or gets a baby alligator as a pet. It quickly grows beyond what it's supposed to, and they let them loose in the sewers. Now, according to everybody, it would be impossible for an alligator to live for a prolonged period of time in the sewers of New York. One, there's just so much toxic sludge down there. Two, they couldn't survive the cold. New York is a generally cooler state, and at winter temperatures can drop to the zeros. And in the sewers, it can drop even lower because there's no insulation. That water gets really, really cold. It would kill alligators because they're reptiles. And yet, there's at least 15 documented sightings, many of which on film, of alligators and crocodiles in New York. Now, one or two of those are that they escaped from a zoo, obviously. Again, a lot of cryptids are animals that escaped from the zoo or animals that, people brought back home for pets or whatever and then let go. North Carolina, North Dakota, Ohio, you've got a giant frog. Oklahoma's got the Thunderbirds. Oregon, of course, has got the Bigfoot. And, of course, has got Interpol agent DM Kurt. DM Kurt lives in Oregon. And we've got to, of course, shout out to DM Kurt. Pennsylvania, Rhode Island. Even Rhode Island has a Bigfoot. South Carolina has a lizard man and a Bigfoot. Tennessee has got Elvis. Oh, man, did I have to go deep into the Elvis rabbit hole for this one. And I continue this because Elvis shows up in the forthcoming Henchman Sings the Blues supplement. How many times has Elvis been cited since his death? And we'll get back to that because I have an Elvis story. And just, every state I did. Tentacle Cow shows up again in this one because Tentacle Shit Cow shows up in everyone. And then, you've got Chupacabra, Jackalope, a list of all the different places that have Bigfoot sightings, a list of all the different places that have lake monster sightings, a list of all the places that have sightings of things that don't really fit in. Like, New Zealand has a giant flightless bird. Mongolia has the Mongolia death worm. The UK has the British big cats, which was there's an urban myth that of a giant ghost cat. Turns out they were just, cats that people brought over for zoos and that escaped. We've got the Gill people. We've got some other ones. And then we've got the 1, 2, 3 pages of footnotes, 67 footnotes, 67 different times I visited the U.S. Library of Congress that led me to other sites to talk about the various things. So when I do these ones, I research them. Nothing in here is made up except for the ones I specifically say are made up. Like the Fresno, Nevada Hammerman. Fresno, Nevada, it's not a real place. I made it up. Now, I can't talk about cryptids without talking about each and every one of our own personal encounters with a cryptid or a personal story with a cryptid. Now, despite living in Southern California and Northern California, I've never seen Bigfoot. I did see something once in Northern California, but I want to tell you my Elvis story because I don't think we can talk about cryptids, but talking about my personal Elvis story. So a long time ago, I was a radio DJ for a radio channel in Van Nuys, California called KVCM. Now, somebody there knew somebody who was a Elvis expert, had met Elvis, had written about Elvis, and called me while I was on the air at KVCM. And we talked about Elvis. And I talked about, what I knew about Elvis and what was real, what was false. Did Elvis actually work for the FBI? Was Elvis a part of the Illuminati? And of course, we got to the part of the conversation where, is Elvis alive? Is Elvis still alive? By the way, Elvis would be about 94 if he was still alive right now. And the guy said, look, I'm not going to say he is. I'm not going to say he isn't. I mean, there's definitely proof that Elvis is dead, but there's also proof that he might still be alive. And at the end of the day, I would like to think Elvis is still alive and out there. Because, what a kind of sad world it would be if he wasn't, right? So, yeah, that is my personal encounter. A actual documented expert on Elvis, somebody who has met Elvis, could not 100% confirm that Elvis is dead, And he himself said he would like to believe Elvis is still alive. And I would also like to believe that at 90-something years old, the king is still out there just enjoying the world and, just occasionally popping up to mess with people's minds. Or maybe he went back home to space or to another dimension. Who knows? But that's my personal Elvis story. I like to think Elvis is still out there. What do you think? What's your favorite cryptid story? Where do you live? What do you have a cryptid urban myth where you live? Post it down below. Let me know. And I assure you again, wherever you live, you have a Bigfoot. So consider yourself blessed. In fact, there goes Bigfoot now. No, wait, that's just Steve the cat. Till next time, I'm your favorite cryptid, the OGGM. I'll talk to y'all later.